Hello, Peter Adkison, and welcome to Finland.
Thank
How
you.
are you?
I'm great, and happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
You are the founder of the legendary gaming company Visitors at Coast. When and how did you get your start in role-playing games?
I started role-playing games. Before I was a war gamer, like the old board war games back in the early 70s, and I started playing role-playing games in 1978. I went into a game store to buy a war game, and but there was a Dungeons and Dragons box set for sale in the store, and I honestly didn't know anything about it. I knew it was fantasy, I could tell that from the cover, and my older brother had just lent me Lord of the Rings. So I was very excited about fantasy. So I thought, oh, a fantasy game, I'll buy it. So I bought this game and immediately fell in love with it. I had nobody to show me how to play, so I was playing it all wrong, trying to figure it out from the original rules, because there was nobody in my school that knew how to do it. So I was trying to learn it in GM at the same time. But it all worked out for us.
Story of my life too. What is the story behind Visitors of the Coast? How did it get founded and why?
Well, it actually links back to role-playing games. While I was in college in the early 80s, I had a couple of our friends, we just purchased a Judges Guild adventure, I think the city-state of the Invincible Overlord or something like that. And my friend Terry was like, wow, this is, we could do something like this. And my other friend Daryl says, yeah, but maybe we should finish college first. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, so we that was about as much as we discussed it. And that was in I don't know, the early 80s, 1981, 82, something like that. And then we all finished college, graduated from college, moved to various places, and then it was in 1990, so maybe 8 years later, that I was online, proto-internet days with my friend Ken, and I said, hey, let's start Wizards of the Coast. And he's like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And that was about as much discussion as we put into it. So we started a game company pretty much as a hobby, as a lark. It was not we became very serious about it very quickly after that. But at the beginning, it was just something to do for fun.
Sounds very good.
And it was to do role-playing games mainly. Magic, came later.
Yeah. Well, talking about Magic the Gathering, what is its story, and how was it created, and why did it end up with Wizards of the Coast?
Right. Well, Magic is an amazing game, and is the brainchild of Richard Garfield. And Richard, I didn't actually start Wizards with him. Richard I met along the way as I was looking for new games to publish through Wizards. And he had never been published. He was an amateur game designer at the time. He was still going to school, actually, at the University of Pennsylvania. And he never took game design as anything more than a hobby. Like, he just liked to do it for fun. But he had a friend of his that really loved his game and said, hey, you should get these published. And Richard was like, I don't want to deal with that, right? So his friend, Mike Davis, so Richard made a deal. If you take this one game I have, that's probably the best one at the time, it's called Robo Rally, and if you get it published, then you can own half of it. And so Mike tracked me down and worked up a time to meet, and we decided to get together, and I liked Robo Rally a lot. In fact, we would eventually publish Robo Rally, but at the time it seemed way too complicated for us. And so when I met Richard, we just really had this immediate attraction. And I asked Richard, I said, well, or Richard asked me, he said, well, if you don't think Robo Rally is the right game right now, what would you like to publish? What sort of game would you like to do? And I said, well, what about a fantasy or science fiction card game? And now I'm not taking credit for the eureka of having a trading card game. I was just thinking of a traditional sort of card game. Yeah. And Richard, somehow that conversation sparked the idea in Richard. A week later, he came back to me with the idea for a trading card game, and which became Magic the Gathering. And in 2 months, he had it designed, and it pretty much playable under current rules, almost. And so then we went on to publish it, and there were lots of details in that story. But
do you play Magic together?
I love Magic. Yes, absolutely. I do. My dad is a huge collector of Magic, and so especially when I get together with him, we play Magic.
Of course, the mandatory question. What would be your advice for a person who wishes to design a game and actually get it sold?
Well, I think, first of all, game design, I think if you're serious about designing a game, if you want it sold, you should be serious about it. You should realize that it's a discipline like architecture, chemistry, mathematics. It's something you can't, it's amazing, it never ceases to astonish me how people will think because they like a game and they play a lot of games, somehow that makes them qualified to design a great game. Well, certainly anybody can try, right? But if you want to design a game and get it published, you need to take it seriously and you need to study what game design is. But there's no school for it, so how do you do that? You have to go and you need to go and test your mettle with other game designers. You need to try game designs and participate in forums or discussion groups where games are analyzed and critiqued, and get good at it, and then and design.
Do you have any plans regarding role-playing games in the future? Like, well, what would you like to do with role-playing games?
Actually, I do. I'm very interested lately in filming role-playing games. In fact, I have a panel at the convention this weekend called Role-Playing Games as a Visual Medium. Yeah. And so I have been experimenting with filming role-playing games and asking the question, like, is it possible that it could be interesting to watch a role-playing game? And maybe the game that would be most interesting to watch hasn't been designed yet, right? So if the goal was to make a role-playing experience interesting to watch, then would that inform a game design philosophy for a new type of game? Yeah. Because if you could make it very entertaining to watch, then we can popularize it. We can reach more people through media and make the whole hobby a bigger hobby.
You also managed the largest gaming convention in the world, the Gen Con. How has the convention developed under your leadership?
I know. I look at Gen Con and say, what's important to me is that every aspect of it is done well. You want to have great programming, you want a great registration system, you want to have great panels, you want to have great guests, and that Gen Con is more than just games. I look at it as about gaming culture. And so gaming's sort of in the center, but gaming culture is all the things that we as geeks enjoy. And it's everything from role-playing, board games, but it's also fiction and art and fantasy and science fiction and films and just all sorts of things that overlap this geek DNA that we share. And so I think part of I think what's been most important for me in my role in Gen Con has been trying to establish try to develop programs for all of these things, and sometimes these programs prove painfully slow, but I think the recent success of Gen Con has been this building of a really diverse program around a central theme of geekdom. What
are your expectations for Ropecon and Finland?
Right. Well, Ropecon has a really good reputation in the American market because you've been so good at bringing over American game designers and artists and publishers and showing them a good time. They all go back and rave around it. So now I don't know if how that could possibly help you, like, because there's not thousands of Americans able to fly over here and participate. But like there is sort of this within the gaming industry, insiders, when we hang out at industry bars at Gen Con and Origins, there's always the favorite Ropecon stories floating around, and it's on everybody's wish list. I can promise you that. So I'm ready, bring it on. I'm ready for a nice, great, fabulous time. And looking forward to playing games, lots of Finnish people, and I'm particularly interested in role-playing games, new role-playing games, stuff that I'd love to try some Jeep form while I'm here. So
could be possible.
So if anybody's listening to this before the show's over, find me and drag me into an English, role-playing game with the latest and greatest techniques for story gaming, and I'm there.
Yes. Thank you very much
Absolutely.
for the interview, and see you on Friday in Ropecon.
Yes, I'll be there. All right, thank you for having me.